but that's also the truth of the industry. So I was paid only 1,000 rupees a month, which is today like $20, even less than that. A lot of people left the industry because an engineer or a chartered accountant or a doctor. So
Or a
like,
failure.
oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. At my work, everyone calls it douche tongs.
Have you ever experienced burnout?
Yeah.
In this episode, we have Chef Sarish Verma with us, who is a sous chef in one of the golf clubs. I've worked with him for a few months in one of the most challenging restaurants. And while he was working there, he did a 75 hard challenge. And he showed me that it is possible to take care of yourself while working those long hours in the kitchen. In this episode, we are also talking about the common myths, the truth, and everything that surrounds the culinary industry. With all that being said, let's get into the episode. Firstly, let's start with how has your journey been from IHM Mumbai to Toronto?
Uh, very, very exciting. Um, I did not really think that I would come to Toronto in the first place. You and I both have been to IHM, so it was more like everything fell into place. And how, when I look back upon now, for once I graduated from IHM and like how I ended up in Toronto, it makes sense now. But in the moment when I was there, did not make sense. Um, yeah, it was a lot of challenges and like it's totally two different worlds from IHM Mumbai to coming to Toronto. Like it's definitely different.
Okay, what's the common difference, or what's the difference you realized or found when you were working as a trainee in Mumbai and when you moved to Canada and you work in the industry over here?
The thing was like I worked as a trainee at like Grand Hyatt Mumbai in which is a 5-star hotel. So in as an industrial trainee in the course, we are expected to work at least 12 hours a day, which is very harsh, but that's also the truth of the industry. So we 12 hours a day, sometimes 6 days a week, and as an industrial trainee, you only paid like $1,000, 1,000 rupees a month actually.
1,500 rupees.
1,500 sometimes, like if you're lucky, like I was paid only 1,000 rupees a month, which is today like $20, even less than that. So working that many hours, like that was a good introduction to the industry because it was a part of our course, right? So like okay, like when we graduate from the industry, like okay, when we graduate from the course, this is what's the reality gonna be, and the pay is really bad, but like so that really prepared us mentally, like this is what you're getting into. And but when I moved to Toronto, like I understand like there's something called as work-life balance as well. Like the industry in India is like still very very stipulated towards keeping it labor intensive and making the most out of each and every person, and like almost like wringing them out to get the most out of them. But over here, they also focus on mental health. They also focus on making it a little bit more to get more longevity into it, and some sustainability. So in terms of work-life balance, it's a little bit better over here, but I see like that those changes happening in Mumbai as well.
Okay. So when I was a trainee in IHM Mumbai, it happens during the third year, right?
Second year.
Sorry, second year.
Yeah.
And then before second year, there was like 100% attendance.
Yeah.
But right after the industry training, the attendance dropped to 20%.
Wow.
Roughly 20%.
Yeah.
That means 80% of the people after the industry training quit.
Yeah.
What made you stay in the industry?
That's a very good question. Like, because I enjoyed it. I think having a little bit of a rhythm, having a little bit of schedule, and knowing that I'm able to create something, and I knew the fact that I'm able to create a dish or like that served to a guest, they will enjoy it and like they would want to come back to like, hey, I want to have this dish again. The thought of that, I was very keen on, like I was driven by passion with that, and I chose like I really want to pursue this. I was never really shy of labor work or a blue collar job. I think this is called a blue collar job. So yeah, this is exactly what made me stay.
Did the hustle ever made you think that that's what you want to do? Or to better frame it, did the hustle ever stop you from getting into the industry? Like you said, working 12 hours or whatever. Like, because for me, when I was working those hours, somewhere down the line or somewhere in those months, I was like, okay, I kind of enjoy like putting in the work and doing the hard work. Like, did that ever click to you?
Yes, because like the thing was like before I got into the college, IHM Mumbai, I wanted to become an engineer, and but and the reason I wanted to become an engineer was like to fulfill my parents' dream of me going to an IIT, which is a very common thing to do
Classic.
in classic Indian child. You're either an engineer or a chartered accountant or a doctor. So
Or a
like,
failure.
oh yeah, exactly. So yeah, but like I sooner than later realized that I'm not fit for IIT because that required a lot of intelligence. I'm not saying I'm not intelligent, but like
But
it
a
was
different kind of.
different kind of concentration. I was not able to like really focus on that. So like just being like 16 hours a day, focus on studies and like just reading. That really kind of fried my brain. I was like, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to sit down on a seat and like possibly be working in the same field on a computer for 10 hours a day. That's not what I really saw myself doing. So, but like it was a really a luck when I applied for this exam when I got into IHM, and then when I got into it, I'm like, okay, this is an avenue that where I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna be on the desk all the time, and I'm gonna be always be moving, and the hustle was really what attracted me towards the industry, if that makes sense. It's never about the money because the industry is like, yeah, it's very shy when it comes to paying money to the employees.
Yeah, it's very underpaid in my opinion.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, so what would you say to a person who has just watched MasterChef or say some online YouTube channel and has decided to come into the industry?
Turn it off. I mean, that's not the reality of the industry. Like everything that you see on television is like very much staged. Like even Hell's Kitchen, which is I think comes the closest to a real kitchen environment, it is still a little bit staged, I would say. The reality of the industry is much more gruesome, much more difficult. It can be sometimes be sexist, it can sometimes be racist, and it's just that you have to face this. You can't really get out of your way out of it. So MasterChef and all the shows like really glamorize the entire industry, but I would say do your research. I'm like, anyone who asks me like, hey, I want to become a chef, I ask them the reason why they want to become a chef. And if any of them say like the reason behind is because I want to be like master chef, a celebrity chef, I'm like, do your research. That's not the reality of the industry. And if someone's coming to me for advice, it's my job to make sure like I give them the right advice. It can sometimes be brutal, but in the end, I don't want them to be like 5 years into the industry. I'm like, oh, this is not what I thought it would be. So always give them the right advice.
Helping them not make the wrong decisions.
Yes, 100%.
Like I feel like MasterChef and all those channels portray like a very false reality of the industry.
Yeah.
Like I know, like I was watching MasterChef Australia
Yeah.
before going to IHM, the Ronald Poyer episode, and in my head I was like, okay, I'm going to be the chef, and like there's going to be like some kind of challenges, like black box challenges where you're like thrown into the kitchen and you're trying to like figure out stuff, but the reality hits and you're pretty much doing just one thing the entire time, like at least for like a week or two. Like
At least, yeah.
if you go to a kitchen, you're pretty much like thrown on guard, and then you're either like just plating the same dish for like months and months, or like doing the same sauces for like weeks and months to come.
Yeah, but like I think that's what the beauty of the industry is. Like you need to see it from different perspective. A person can see it as monotonicity, like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. I'm not learning anything. But if you really love the industry, if you're really passionate about making food, you'll be like, okay, from my day one was till day 100, I did the same thing all over again. But on my day 100, let's say a salad or dressing, it's perfect, perfectly seasoned, perfectly emulsified, perfectly, the salad is plated perfectly. It looks like a picture perfect dish as well. You know, when you find those small improvements in yourself, that's when you know, like, yeah, this is the right industry for me.
Getting better every day.
Yeah, getting better every day. But like, yeah, I do understand. Like sometimes people do get bored of the monotonicity.
But that's when you switch it up. That's when you find
Yeah.
a new job or something.
Yeah, people do that very often. Yeah.
Okay, what is the hard truth you realized once you stepped into the industry?
Hard truth. Uh, it's a very big ego contest, like in every kitchen. Like like every time you enter a new kitchen, it's like people are usually not very welcoming because chefs are very territorial. so they see it as a threat more than as a welcoming gesture. So it's a really ego contest. So as much as you hate it, you have to be in the favorites initially, at least. And the way you can do that is by doing good work, like doing like a good job and like learning and like being curious all the time. And that's something that I don't really think as a game, but like that's something I have naturally in me because like I want to become better every time. So it is an ego contest, and like the question is, how do you manage others' ego, and like how do you get as a man become a manager? How do you get the team to work together? So there's egos involved at each and every level. So yeah, that's probably the biggest drawback of the industry.
Agreed, agreed. Since you have been in this industry for at least, I would say, 6, 7 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, what are the industry standards that were back then and what is it now? Like, what are the major changes that you have seen?
I think I've not worked in India since like 2018. So I would say about Canada and Toronto because in 2019, 2020, and 2021, pretty much all those 3 years were wasted by COVID. So the thing before and after is like work-life balance. That become a really major thing because during the COVID times, a lot of people left the industry because their thought was like this is not sustainable because most of the top people who were in the corporate jobs they were switched to remote working and working from home. But like the people in our industry, they were like left jobless and like they had no source of income. During that time, the economy was really shit. So um, that made people realize that this is not the industry they want to be in. So I would say about 80% of people during that time switched their jobs, excuse me, jobs out to different industries, and that was a wake up call for all the leading teams. I would say leading brands in the industry that they need to do some changes. So increasing the pay a little bit, increasing a little bit more work-life balance, like cutting the hours shorter. So that was the biggest change I've seen in the last 5 years, and thanks that we have seen that. Like at least you can have a living right now in the industry while working. Like I said, I've not worked in India, so I'm not sure what has changed there over the time. But from what I've seen on Instagram or like all the social media platforms, the level of food has gotten up very much.
For sure.
People, especially in India, in Mumbai, I've heard from people like a lot of restaurants are opening day in day out, and like everything is packed. So that's a good thing.
I feel like people in Mumbai are getting more aware of the food scene, like what
Yeah.
it takes behind the scene to put in
Yeah.
that effort to just put out one plate. And now people are willing to pay more
Yeah.
for food.
Yeah. That's very straightforwardly put.
Since you are part of the hiring process in your restaurant, what is that you're looking in a cook when you're hiring them?
Good attitude is the biggest thing, and like our chef back in the day at IHM, he used to say, "Ask chef a year."
Chef a year.
Yeah, like attitude, skills, knowledge. So as a cook, skills and knowledge come really secondary because most of the cooks come onto the board because they want to learn, right? So we're looking for the right attitude. Like this person would like keep their head down, would not talk a lot, or like be more like be focused on their work. The skills and knowledge we can like that's our job as sous chef to impart, like, and we see the progress over them. So attitude is the main thing. Knowing the fact that why are they in the industry, what drives them to come to work each and every day. That's the most important part, in my opinion.
So when I was working at, part of the reason why I quit was because at that moment, my why wasn't that strong.
Why are you working there?
Why am I working there?
Yeah.
And why am I here, basically?
Yeah, yeah.
So I quit because something was going on in my personal life. That's not the point. But what is your why? Like, what is that particular thing that has kept you going till now in that, like, at that level? Because performing at that level in the kitchen takes a lot of toll from you.
Yeah.
So there has to be a why. So what's your why?
I think that's a very deep question. I think the biggest why probably would be food. Like I really love food and like the idea of creating something. Um, I do look for respect. I do look for fame from the fact that my food is that avenue that would get me to that position. So my why would be like, okay, creating something new and like watching people enjoy and like they going like Oh, I've never had this before. What's this? There's something spectacular. And that has happened a lot of time as a golf club because golf club environment is very different. When I was, I wanted to learn all those things and I enjoyed learning those things. But then understanding, then I realized that I've learned enough about food. I want to learn about managing people. And being a manager would have been much more easier because everyone's focused on food.
Everyone's like very much like in their zone, very
Yeah.
much passionate.
Exactly, but like, what happens when you step out of such passionate environment? Life is very different out there. After that, my why became how do I manage people? How do I manage different personalities? And that's what was driving me. Sometimes it's a headache to manage and like be involved in the drama, but it is a part and parcel of becoming being in this industry because as you grow up you will have to face that. It's a lot of mental stress to take in as well. Yeah, but like it's mostly the food that like I know for sure that there's an end to it and like people are gonna come one day because like I want to try Sarish's food, I want to try like this food, like something different. Yeah.
Since you're going to be the next head chef somewhere and you're the next torchbearer for the industry, what changes would you want this industry to make? Or what changes do you wish this industry to make?
It's a very good question. What changes do I see more coming? I think because we're in Canada, I would say this. Canada is like a country where a lot of immigrants come in. Um, I would rather train, if I become a head chef, I would rather train someone who's an immigrant with a strong reason to work in the kitchen, and I bring them up and like let them find a passion for themselves, than to train a culinary graduate. You know, I'm not saying that they are not passionate, but like I would say the immigrants have a stronger why. Like like once they find their groove, it might work sometimes, it might not work sometimes. Other than that, I would want to work. I would want to implement a little bit higher wages, like definitely abolishing the tip system because I feel like the tip system is a very unfair way of relying on your salaries. Um, like why is it like if there's a good season you are making like $60,000 a year, but if it's a bad season you're only making like $45,000 a year, So it's about how do you manage the including the tip prices in your menu and how you're able to pay everyone a fair wage. I think that's one of the biggest changes I would like to make.
So you're saying to just get rid of tip
Tipping?
system at all? Like,
Yes, in a way. It will have some drawbacks as well, but in the long run, that's a good way of making the industry much more sustainable for
just
anyone who's working.
evening out the playing field.
Yes, yes,
Have you ever experienced burnout?
yeah,
And how did you deal with it?
yeah. I would say burnout is very common in the industry. It happens to the best of us. It's about it can happen due to workload, it can happen due to mental stress. So and a lot of, especially if like you have so much going in your personal life and work life as well at the same time, you just crush between the uh, two pillars, right? So yes, I've experienced burnout quite a few times. The question becomes like how do I get out of it? I would Well, every time I'm burnt out, I would just go to sleep, personally speaking. Like
Just
yeah,
go to bed.
yeah, just go to bed. Like sometimes it's hard for you to uh, sleep when you have so much stress going on. One ideal way would be like you do a heavy workout, and after that your body's just so tired it just shuts down. So that's one of the ways of dealing with the burnout. You could do a long shower. You could just go meditate. So my escape would be just sleeping it off, and like or maybe just having like a couch potato day. Like like just order a good food from Uber Eats, just watch a movie, just do nothing. Doing nothing is very underrated.
What happens if it's like a longer burnout where like you have tried all your sleep and meditation and everything and you just don't feel like getting up? Because when I was at, that's exactly what happened to me. Like I
Yeah,
came from a very hectic job before that, before joining, and then I stepped right in, which was a
even
different beast on its own.
yeah, yeah,
So that's when I realized like, okay, like that's when that's what the first time I experienced what a burnout is. where like I tried whatever you said, sleep, cold showers, meditation, but I could not physically get out of the bed.
Yeah,
What would you do then?
I would probably done the same thing that you did. I would have quit. Like the jokes aside, but like probably I would have spoken to my chef, like because I would want to establish that relationship between me and my chef, that I trust him enough to for him to understand that what's going on. I need a break. Like, okay, I need a 1 week break. Let's say I'm okay to do an unpaid break, right? Because getting my mental strength back is something that would get me out of bed every day. So like a vacation would help, I would say. But yeah, I would have probably quit as well. But like I would have mostly like asked them to give me a break. Like I need like whatever's happening. Why do I need that break? And if any place does not what you call it acknowledge that you need that break, I would just be like give the notice as well, because notice period work is something different. It's just de-stressing you. Like, fuck this shit. I'm getting out of here. I'm not sure if that's allowed in your video or not.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's important for like us as chefs, like we are sous chefs, and like slowly we'll all will become like a head chef, to acknowledge such cases where like people are going through burnouts, and then create a relationship where like people are comfortable coming to us and being
Yeah.
like, hey chef, I'm getting burnt out.
Yeah.
And it should be a genuine reason, not
Yeah.
like not they're abusing it, like
Yeah.
okay, now I feel burnout, can I take a 2 week vacation? And like,
Yeah.
you see them going somewhere, but like a genuine reason behind it, and like being okay with like us giving them like, okay, like yes, please go for
Yeah.
take whatever you want and then come back, because I feel like that's a very healthy relationship, because this industry takes so much from us that there should be something that says like, okay, you're burned out, and then
Yeah.
go take your time.
Yeah. Yeah. In the industry, people are the most important part. Just imagine training someone to like become a sous chef, for example, and like that person is burnt out, and you're not able to give them the time off they need to get the strength back, to get the mental strength back, and they leave. Their people are investments. So like, what if they leave? Like 2 years you train them, and like they're just gone. Now you just have to start over with someone. So people are investment. Like, is your investment in them is your training. Their investment in you is their trust in you. Like, you're responsible now to give them a healthy environment. Excuse me. So that's why people understanding people and like taking care of them is the hardest part.
What is the one tool in kitchen you can't work without?
A small knife, I would say, like a petty or paring knife. Because I like to cut my tapes very straight. Yeah, I cannot work without. Like I would have said tweezers, but like no, tweezers is very douchey. You don't need it. Like
Very douchey.
douchey. Yeah. At my work, everyone calls it douche tongs. Yeah. So I would say a paring knife or like a small knife, because yeah, I like my tapes cut, or all the labeling tapes cut very straight. Yeah.
Why not use scissors?
I used to, but like then scissors like they don't fit in my pocket or something like that. Yeah.
True. So for the last question, what advice would you give to someone who has just graduated from one of the culinary school and who's starting in the industry?
Keep your head down. Simple as that. Like keep your head down wherever you go. You need to know for sure that I want to work at this place, and why do you want to work at this place? You cannot just be going blindly into any job. Uh, it could be like this place could not offer you a lot in terms of money, but like if you want to have a long career, you need to work at a good place to start, to understand like what is your why. Like it could be food, sometimes it could be for people to make money. Like anything that keeps you going, you need to start at that kind of place. So yeah, just choose your place right, keep your head down, and don't be cocky. Don't be cocky. Just keep it going, and like day after day, put in the work, put in the grind. Sooner or later, your work, you will realize that you have learned enough, then you make the next change. And that's how you keep on growing. Yeah.
Great advice. Okay, anything else you want to say?
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Sorry.